In the words of the late George Carlin, BS is the glue that binds us together as a nation. Here comes a ton of it. It's time for BSing with Big Nate.
Welcome into another edition of BSing with Big Nate. I'm Big Nate, and we're in the kitchen this week because, well, frankly, in a situation where you are self-isolating, self-distancing, quarantining yourself, the kitchen quickly becomes the most or second most important room in your home, depending on how good you are in the kitchen. Bathroom, of course, could be the first most if you don't know what you're doing. So we're here today. We're going to learn a little bit on some stuff we can do in the kitchen. I am joined by Luke Brugh of Brugh Coffee out of lovely Christiansburg, Virginia. How you doing, Luke?
Good. How you doing?
I'm awake, but hopefully about to be more so. I got a shipment last Saturday of some delicious coffee for me. I'm going to be honest with you. I ordered 2 bags. Probably should have ordered more. I already made my way through one of these, and now I want to learn how to make a pour over the right way. So you ready to help me out with that?
Sounds good. I'll see what I can do.
All right. So I've got here a bag of the delicious, well, I assume it's delicious. I actually haven't tried this one yet, but the Like Clockwork was delicious. So the Makuba Rwanda should be pretty daggone delicious, and I think I've got all my supplies here. I've got my pour-over device. I don't know what those are exactly called. The filters, measuring cup for water, coffee, and a pot ready to boil some water. What do I need to do?
Cool. Yeah, so I guess it depends on how much coffee you're wanting to make. We typically, for me, I like going a 10-ounce cup. Also, I do everything in grams, so I can kind of give you some guidance with a little bit of that. But typically, do you actually like weigh out any of your stuff, or do you just use like cubes and stuff like that?
I have a food scale. If I've got a lot of time, which I've got time today, I do weigh things out.
You don't have to. I can tell you how to do it without it.
Let's do that, because I know not everyone has a food scale, and I'm trying to make this accessible. So let's go ahead and we'll do it without the food scale, and then
Cool.
then I'll get the recipe with the food scale from you.
Okay, cool. Yeah, and we have all the, like, if you want to get like real specific, we have a lot of those. Like we have a YouTube channel. We have those on our website. Trying to work on putting some more together. But yeah, so what you want to do is, let's say we're going to do a 10-ounce cup, right? So you'll want to do, I like to tell people, if you're just using like a scoop, to do 1 tablespoon per 5 ounces. So in this case, if you're doing a 10-ounce cup, then you're going to want to do 2 tablespoons of your coffee.
So 2 tablespoons of the coffee, and
Yeah.
we want to go ahead straight into the filter.
Actually, hold on. What we want to do first is we want to wet our filter. I always tell people to wet their filter first. So if you have a little bit of water, it doesn't have to be hot. Preferably it should be hot, but you'll just want to go ahead and put your filter in your brewing device, and then you want to wet the filter. Preferably if you can do it hot, cool, but if you're in a bind, sometimes you got to do what you got to do.
All right, we'll go ahead. We'll get this filter nice and wet, and then I'm assuming we want to take that water back out, correct?
Yes, yeah. So typically, what you want to, the reason you wet the filter is it'll do 2 things. One is if you don't wet the filter, then you run the risk of kind of having like a papery, kind of oily taste in your cup. So that kind of takes care of that. And then if you're using hot water, it also will preheat the brewing vessel. And the reason that that's beneficial to do is, we want to have an even extraction. And to do that, we want to have an even temperature throughout the entire brewing process. So that's the reason we would do that.
Okay, so my filter is wet. Now we do 2 tablespoons of coffee.
Correct.
Keeping leveled off. Do we have is it really just preference?
I like to level it off. And I also, you don't have to do this, but I do this. I'm gonna tell you all like the kind of like weird things I do. You want to take your finger and put like a little divot in the middle of the bed.
In the middle of the bag?
No, the bed of coffee. So you leveled it out. You want to take your finger and put a little divot in the middle.
All right. What's the benefit to that?
The reason that I like to do that is so that when you go to actually do your brewing process, it helps to since you have a cone brewing device. What that does is that makes sure that all the water gets down to the bottom, so you don't have the grounds on the top getting saturated first, and then having some of the ones at the bottom getting
Would
extracted.
you say that's enough of a divot?
Perfect. Looks great.
Alrighty.
And then, so you want to have, if you don't have any water, well, do you have your water ready? I guess your price is there.
Do I have my water hot? I have water, but it's not hot yet. So do we do an exact 10 ounces for this?
Let's do a little bit over. Let's do 12 ounces.
All right, measure out some water here. 12 ounces. All right. And we want to heat that, obviously.
Yeah, we want to heat that. So we're just kind of winging it as we go right now. But so ideally, you would already have your hot water ready to go before we've done all this stuff. But you know, it's early in the morning, and sometimes, like even for me, my steps will get all jumbled until I've had my first cup. So we'll want to, and the reason that we do a little bit more water than we do, like, so if we want a 10-ounce cup, the reason that we do a little bit more is because you're going to have some loss. Because what's going to happen is, and 12 ounces is probably a little bit more than we need. But the reason you do that is the grounds are going to soak up some of that water. And so if you want a 10-ounce cup, you need to do a little bit more, because otherwise if you just do 10 ounces, it'll be a little bit less.
And should I get this water boiling, or are we just going to get it hot right there on the threshold? Boiling?
Boiling. I like to go boiling. The reason I like to do boiling is so, like, in a case like this, if you don't have a thermometer, right, this is the easiest way to repeat your recipe. You know, because if you end up wanting to change things later, like let's say that we brew this cup and it's not as strong as you want, we know that we can just add more grounds next time. If you want to be able to repeat your brewing process really easily, so going to boiling every time makes it easy to repeat it. If you had a thermometer, you know, you could say every time you heat it up to 205. Like I have a kettle that tells me exactly how hot the water is in the kettle.
Yeah, I did have an electric kettle, and that was great until there was an accident with one of the cats and the power plug, and I didn't feel like repairing it. So this is where we've ended up. I loved my electric kettle. I probably, should use the time to get myself a new one, but I feel like I'm keeping UPS busy enough. I don't know about you, but that's the biggest thing I've noticed is sure, there's not a lot of stores I can physically go into and browse, but I've definitely found some time for online shopping.
Oh yeah, definitely. I think for the most part, you know, I will make. I try and not go to the grocery store more than once a week, which can kind of be difficult because we get some of our supplies to the lab there. But yeah, I've definitely been ordering online more.
So we're making pour over because it's my favorite way to have coffee. What's your favorite way to prepare it?
I like a lot of different things. I'm kind of like a person where I go through phases on things that I like. Pour overs are kind of like my standard go-to. I am a big fan of AeroPress on Sundays. The reason being is we're closed on Sundays. That's the only day of the week that the brew lab is closed. And I am a coffee company, and I do not have a grinder at my house. Believe it or not.
I mean, I probably have a spare grinder I could donate to the cause.
Oh, it's all good. It's all good. So I like to do AeroPresses on Sundays. I'm a big fan of cortados. If I want like a milky drink, cortados are my favorite. If you don't know what those are a little like 4-ounce drinks, and it's equal parts espresso and steamed milk. Those are pretty tasty.
All right, our water is boiling.
Cool. All right. Do you have a spoon with you? I probably should have asked you if you had that earlier.
Well, thankfully we're in the kitchen. What kind of spoon?
Just any spoon. It doesn't really matter. I wouldn't get
Okay.
one huge. Just like, yeah, there you go. Perfect. All right. So this is what we're going to do. You don't have a scale, so we're going to kind of have to eyeball this. So what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to pour your water over the ground just until all of the grounds are saturated. And then we'll stop. And what you're going to do is you're going to take that spoon and you're going to go forward, back, and then side, 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 side.
Okay, so we're gonna get video footage of me trying this because so just till the grounds are saturated.
Yeah, and then take that spoon immediately and go forward, back, side, 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 side. Spoon. Cool. All right, that's good. All right. Probably could have done a little bit more, but that's all right. And so the reason that you do that, the reason that you stir it back and forth is, again, we want to have an even extraction. So you kind of want to, the reason you use a spoon is you're getting all the grounds in contact with that hot water. And so that way all of the grounds extract at the same time. All right, so let's go ahead and you can do your first pour. And let's pour like up to halfway or a little bit over.
Halfway?
Up to in your cone that you have, pour about halfway or a little bit over of hot water, and then you can let it sit for a minute until it kind of goes back down a little bit, and then you can pour some more.
That's about halfway, I would suppose.
Cool, that's fine. We're making do right now. So we'll let that go down a little bit, and then you'll add a little bit more. So we'll kind of do small pours. You can go ahead and pour some more now. Pour back up to about the same height.
And then coffee coming out the other side. Can't see because of the steam, but
all good. All right, you can go ahead and pour again. We'll just kind of keep doing this until you're out of water, since we measured it out beforehand. There you go. And if you have a kettle, it's kind of difficult with what you have right now, but typically if you have a kettle, what you're wanting to do, if you have a gooseneck, is you want to do spirals going up on the sides of the filter so that all the coffee grounds go back into the slurry. Again, our overall objective is an even extraction. You can go ahead and pour some more if you have more. Good.
it smells so good. I wish smell-o-vision was a thing. I don't know if you grew up with Nickelodeon, but Nick Magazine always had the smell-o-vision cards.
Yeah, oh yeah. Do you have any more water left?
Yeah, I have about 4 ounces left.
Cool. Why don't you go ahead and finish it off? All right, cool. And then don't do this real hard, but what you're going to do is you're going to grab the pour over, you're going to lift it up and then just tap it back down. Not real hard. All right, that works. Just once. That's good. And so normally I tell people to do that at the end. You want to do the tap because what that does is that forces all the coffee grounds down to the bottom. And the end goal is, once this is all said and done, if you have a flat bed, then we had an even extraction and we did a good job. If it looks kind of, it has like divots and stuff like that, that's something we can work on next time. But that's kind of the reason that I like to do the tap at the end.
All right, that makes sense. That adds up. And then now I'm assuming we're in a waiting period.
Yeah, so we just let that filter, and then once we're done, you can pinch the filter and discard it.
Excellent. Thank you for taking the time to teach me this. I'm sure my coffee game can definitely always improve.
That's all right. I think my thing is, you got to do what you got to do. There's obviously all this equipment that people can buy, but you still can make a solid cup of coffee in a pinch like this. That's pretty good. That's pretty flat.
Yeah, that's impressive. See, I've been making pour overs in this thing for years, and I knew about the spiral, and I completely forgot until you mentioned it after the fact. So I poured it like a monster, and I've never done the tapping or the divot. That definitely changes things.
It's weird. They're weird things. Yeah, coffee's interesting.
All right, I think we might be good here. How do I know when it's done filtering through? Like, what would be your guide with a coffee pot? Obviously, it would still be running at the bottom, but you see, mine has this handy dandy heat shield, and I can't really tell.
Oh no, it's good. You can tell by looking at the top. You'll see like the last of the water kind of like flows through the ground, so you're good to go. I go ahead and discard that filter.
It's still coming through. You still there?
Yeah.
Oh man. All right, I lost you for a second. So what I was asking is how do I know for sure when it's done?
Oh, you'll be able to tell like the once you can tell on the top once the liquid goes through. I would just go ahead and discard it. You don't have to get every single last drop.
I would say we're there.
Yeah, you're good.
So now there's only one thing left to do is pour this in my. The one thing I discovered in this quest this morning is my favorite coffee mug has gone missing.
Oh god!
Look at that, beautiful, beautiful. And now I'm ripping, roaring, ready to start the day. And you're watching BS with Big Nate, joined by Luke Brugh of Brugh Coffee Company out in Christiansburg. Made a pour over with the delicious Makuba Rwanda. And Luke, where can they get your delicious coffee?
Cool. So there's a number of ways right now. With everything going on, we are still doing curbside pickup at a storefront. We're using a thing called the Clusive app for your phone, so you can order that way. And then we have a table right out front here. You can just swing by with your car, grab your, if you got a drink or whatever, you grab it off the table or bag. We are doing free shipping from our website, which is brewcoffee.com, and that's BRUGH coffee.com. We're doing free shipping on orders over $25. And then if you happen to be in an eligible zone in Christiansburg, you can get some bags and cold brew delivered to you via drone.
The cold brew, it's intriguing you bring that up. That was my first experience with Brugh Coffee. I was out at the Radford Farmers Market, back when we still had a Radford Farmers Market. We'll see what happens this year. You were out there with the bottles of the Brugh cold brew, and man, on a hot day, nothing beats a good cup of cold brew coffee. But there you have it. They're out in Christiansburg. You can get your curbside pickup scheduled using the Clusive app. That's CLOOSIV, correct?
Correct, yeah. And you can actually use it for just to give people more reason to get it. You can also use the Clusive app for Red Rooster out in Floyd. Sweet Donkey in Roanoke is using it. I think Little Green Hive up in Roanoke is using it as well. So you can use that one app for multiple coffee shops.
Excellent. Well, that's a fantastic cup of coffee. Thank you for walking me through making that pour over. So I got to ask, you're doing all your coffee stuff. You're keeping everything running during this self-isolation. What else are you doing? Because it seems like you're a pretty busy man.
Oh gosh. I'm pretty much just working right now. Normally, I like to play music on the side. I'm a bass guitar player. I like to play some music, but with all this stuff going on, I'm pretty much at the lab every day except for Sunday. I am dabbling with doing some video stuff. I got a new camera that's kind of cool.
Oh, pretty righteous. So you bring up the music, and that's something else that I found interesting is both of these bags of coffee had roasted while listening to. The Makuba Rwanda has Bill Murray, My Feelings Have Feelings, and the other one, the Like Clockwork we drank, had it was The Ghost Inside. I can't remember what the
Aftermath.
yeah, that's right. So I got to ask, what started that? Throwing what you were listening to on there. Is this a listening guide for while I'm drinking the coffee?
Oh no. So back when when we started Brew Coffee, like right before, I saw an interview with a coffee roaster who said he believed that he never wanted to roast angry because he felt his emotions went into the roast, and so if he roasted angry, then it would negatively impact the roast. So he would always meditate before he roasted, and that kind of resonated with me. Music is a huge part of my life. I love music, and so I feel like music impacts how I feel, and therefore that kind of goes into the roast.
Excellent. That's what I like to hear. Well, thank you, Luke. Thank you for taking the time and joining us here on BS with Big Nate. Of course, check him out on Facebook. Go to the website, brewcoffee.com. That's BRUGH. And hit him up on the Inclusive app. Get yourself some delicious coffee today. Thank you, Luke.
Yeah, thank you.